this is Sarasota Plant and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing some potting up. I'm going to redistribute some things, add some things to other things, just general plant maintenance. I realize that this is the middle of winter and not the best time to be planting things up, but I figure it's worse for the plant if it just stays in water and isn't where it's supposed to be all winter as opposed to just putting it in soil now. I figure both situations are bad and I'd rather at least get it into some soil and hopefully it'll recover just fine. I have a few things here. I've made up some new soil, so I figure let's just get straight into all of the plant maintenance I've got to do for all of these plants up here. I'll start with this Rafitiforad Tetrasperma. This is a cutting I got from a friend of mine. We swapped some cuttings, and this one definitely has a super healthy root system, so I figure it needs to be in some soil, and so that is what I'm going to do today. I've got some very basic little 4-inch pots that are just plastic, and I'm going to pot it up in those. So part of the reason it took me so long to get to all of these cuttings and pot them up is because I ran out of some soil supplies that I use when I make my own soil. I specifically ran out of charcoal, which was not ideal. So I went on to Amazon and I bought some new charcoal and just like ordered it from, one of the companies that was on there. Didn't think anything of it. Lo and behold, it was from Josh's Frogs, but I didn't know that. And I've of course heard of Josh's Frogs. They're based in Michigan. Heard good things about them, but I had no idea that they were the ones that were going to be sending me the charcoal. So I got a box from Josh's Frogs that was labeled from Josh's Frogs and only had my first name, didn't have my last name, and so I was like, how does Josh's Frogs know who I am? Here's me being stupid and thinking they were sending me like a free plant or something because they're like, oh, we saw you on YouTube. And I was like, yes, I finally made it. I finally become, the sign that you've made it in the YouTube plant world, as if somebody offers you free plants. And I was all excited about it, and then I opened up the box, and it was my charcoal. So I felt highly ridiculous, and then immediately was just like, so embarrassed. Like, I was embarrassed alone in my house, but I'm telling you guys now so that, hopefully that brightens your day a little bit, knowing that all of us are a little stupid once in a while. The next one I'm going to do is this Varicosum. This is the one where the top snapped off, and it's not doing great, mainly because there's not a lot of soil in here and it dries out really, really fast. So I'm basically just going to transplant this into the plastic pot, kind of, hopefully it'll retain some moisture a little bit better, and also be able to check on the root system just to make sure it's doing okay. All right, it's been cut off the bamboo stake. Let's pull that out. It probably doesn't need to go in a bigger pot since I potted it just a year ago. But I did want to check on the roots because it does dry out a lot, so I wanted to make sure that it was, in good, healthy condition here. And the roots look to be in good condition. They smell good. It smells like roots. I'm not seeing any rot or anything. So all this is basically is going to just be a transplant. There's no major surgery I'm going to have to do or anything, so everything is good. Easy enough. I will get some more twine and hold that up, but I don't have it over here, so I will do that later. The next one I'm going to pot up is my little Manjula Pothos. This is also one that dries out all the time because there's like no soil to it. So I'm going to be planting this up, and I'm sure the root system isn't quite big enough for a pot like this, but I'm gonna put it in there anyway. It is a Manjula, but it is a Pothos, so I think it'll survive okay. So this is going up right before Christmas, and I'm gonna be spending the holidays with my family. I wanted to make sure everybody was safe. My grandma's gonna be there, so I wanted to be extra cautious with COVID being what it is. So I wanted to get a test just to make sure I don't have COVID before I travel. Everywhere I tried was out of at-home test kits. I couldn't get an appointment anywhere, and I'm at work trying to figure this out, and I'm freaking out because I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get a test before I leave. Like, what if I'm bringing COVID to my family? I know like the rapid ones and at-home ones aren't perfect. They can give false negatives and false positives, but it was at least like a good guess whether or not I was in the clear or not. And I could not find them anywhere. Of course, I was freaking out. I was trying pharmacies, grocery stores. Luckily, I managed to find a place where you could just like, one of the drive-up ones where you don't need a reservation and you don't need to like sign in or anything. You just kind of have to show up. So I'm going to be doing that and probably waiting in line for a long time, but I will get a COVID test before I visit my family. So I'm very excited for that. I want to spend as much time with them as possible. They're not nearby, so I wanted to make sure before I make the trip out to see them that, you know, everything was okay. Extra precaution never hurt anybody. So I just dumped out the old soil so that I can work on the Syngonium Albo. This one is doing great. It's growing really well. So I've got a nice moss pole to help it grow up a little bit. It's gonna be, you know, outgrow it immediately, but I figure this is better than nothing, and this is what I happen to have. The other piece is that I've got a bunch of these rooted Albo cuttings that I took from this plant, and I would like to put it back into the plant, because my whole idea with this is basically I want a nice big juicy lush fluffy plant. I don't want a little tiny cutting anymore, and I've had this for maybe 2 years now, almost 2 years, and it was like 3 leaves when I got it, and it wasn't growing, and it was stubborn, and I thought I was going to kill it, and now it's gigantic and beautiful, and I love it. So I want it even bigger than before. But I did pot this up a little bit ago, so I think the soil is in decent condition. So I will put it back in, but I will supplement with some of the stuff I have. Ooh, and I do know the root system on this is crazy, as you can see. It is super healthy, it is viney, it's everywhere. They will deal with all of your mistakes, and that is my favorite kind of plant. When I actually took the cuttings that went in that jar, I put this one in the soil and this one in the soil. Just directly, I cut it and just stuffed it in the soil, and they did grow, and they're doing really well. So that just goes to show next time when I take cuttings of this plant, I am literally just going to put them right in the pot. I'm not even going to worry about it. There's so much soil, I'm going to have to put it all back in. I want to make sure they have some room to kind of grow in the pot and not stick out the bottom. So I'm going to gently pull these out. They've got some small growth at the bottom that were like submerged in water and growing in the water. I want to make sure that my cuttings are all lovely and separated. I've got this one right here. It's got a little stumpy leaf on the bottom, which doesn't look like it's going to survive. But that's okay because the roots are good. This one has lovely roots and didn't grow any leaves. Let's see. Ooh, we've got this one here, which has a nice, lovely mottled leaf there, but another little one on the way. And then this one grew 2 since it was in the water, and it's doing great. I want to get as many in this pot as humanly possible. I'm gonna kind of shove that in there. I'm gonna put this one right there, this one right here. And I also have to figure out where the pole is going. Gotta make sure all the roots are pointing downward. I want this like right in the middle. Lovely. I'm gonna try to get as many cuttings kind of in a circle around that as possible, like so. Okay, so now I'm gonna fill, and hopefully as I'm filling this up, I can kind of solidify their positions, because they'll have the roots and the stem will have something to grab onto. So I did go and get twine because I want to make sure that these are secure on here before I finish potting up, but there's so many pieces that I don't think I can hold them all in the right spot in order to, you know, put it in there the right way. That one on that side. Ah, there we go. Here we go. I'm gonna give it a little bit of breathing room, not tie it too tight, but I still want it close enough that it kind of knows that the pole is there, but not so close that it's like smacked up against it. I'll do one more for this top piece. Like I said, it's gonna outgrow this pole in like 5 minutes, but I figure while the bottom is kind of filling out, I could also take cuttings at the top and put it back in, take cuttings at the top and sell them, whatever I happen to feel like. So as it kind of gets taller, I'll probably keep chopping it back, is kind of the idea. All right, so I think everything is kind of placed where I want it. Now I can just fill it the rest of the way up. That little leaf did get buried, that little stubby leaf, but that's okay. It's above the soil line, just barely. It's just like peeking out of the top of the soil. It's all right. It'll grow new leaves. It's a plant. It'll figure it out. And the very top is going to be filled with new stuff. Uncover that leaf. Lovely. Look at that. That's going to be a gigantic plant. I cannot wait. Next spring it is just going to pop off and go everywhere, and I am so excited for it. Gotta do some mild cleanup here. All right, next up, I have these cuttings that have been in water for seemingly forever, and they just need to be put in a pot. All right, so I've got 2 different cuttings of this begonia, not the cutest thing in the world, but I'm still gonna put them in soil just so that, you know, it has a shot, and then I'll probably propagate the tops next spring after it's had a little bit of a chance to kind of solidify itself. I'm gonna fill it up a little bit because I know that this is gonna just like settle. So I want to make sure as it settles that it still has a good amount of soil in there. But that was super easy, nice and quick. Next one is this insane Syngonium. I can't even remember where I got this plant from. I don't know if I've had it for a long time. I know it's been a cutting for a long time, but this Syngonium was definitely like full on thriving in the water. It's grown so many leaves. I think it had like 4 when I put it in there, and now it's like a full-fledged plant. It probably would have been happy living in the water forever, but that is not what we do here. I can definitely pot up, it's all wrapped up together. So I can pot up this one, which is a Syngonium erythrophyllum or red arrow. I've got a big old mother plant for this. And I do love this plant, but I tried to sell this cutting and nobody wanted her. So she's gonna go in a nice little pot and she might be a gift for somebody. It's very possible I priced it too high. You know, if I put it in soil and it does well and it grows, maybe I'll sell it at that point. But I don't mind because honestly, they're just super cute. And I love my mother plant so much, so if I end up with 2 of them, that's not the worst thing in the world. Since I have my twine, I'm just gonna put this back on. All right, I'm gonna tie this back to the pole here. And I think I'm gonna try and find another one of these bamboo poles for the Rafitiforad just so it doesn't knock over all the time. So this seems a little gigantic, but I think it's actually gonna be perfect for this plant because this plant is gigantic. I'm gonna shove it all the way into the bottom. All right, so we got 1, 2. This one's got a little bit more resistance to it here. It's been bending its whole life. It doesn't want to stand up straight. Go, and then trimming off all of the little tails. And that does it for this video. I hope you enjoyed seeing all these plants, and I'm just gonna water these thoroughly, put them in a nice spot, and hopefully they do really well. I'm recording this on December 20th, which is 1 day away from the shortest day of the year. Do not recommend potting up your plants when I did. I'm just hoping the plants are happy that I did this and that they are not going to suffer as a consequence of my laziness and not doing this earlier. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you liked it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. I post videos every Thursday and I've got some good videos coming up. I've got my end of the year wrap up video. I've also got the plants that I've killed in the year 2021 coming up. So if that sounds interesting to you, don't forget to hit that notification bell so you're notified when those videos are posted. Thank you so much for watching and I will catch you next time. Bye!